Hi, my name is Kristen and this is Kristen Craves Books. So as we're coming to the end of the year, I thought it would be fun to reflect on all of the 2023 releases that I have read. You know that I love talking about new releases on this channel. I love researching them for you. I talk about them every single month, to the point that my 2023 release shelf on Goodreads now has 380 books on it. That is way too many. I will never read 380 books, especially since I read about 40 of those so far. So we're at 340. That's never gonna happen. And in talking to some other booktubers, I feel called out. Because their Goodreads shelves are so organized into categories and they create their own shelves so it doesn't go on their want to read shelf. I have just been using Goodreads wrong all of these years. I just need to get organized with it. So I thought the first thing I would do was to look through that shelf of 340 books and decide which ones I want to prioritize. Never in my lifetime will I read all the books that came out in 2023 that caught my eye. So what are the ones I want to focus on within the next few years? And then I will go through that shelf and maybe add the ones that I'm not interested in to different shelves, or just do something with them so they're not in my immediate TBR and I don't have to think about them too much. And of course there are some that I'm not talking about in this video that I will eventually read. These are just the high priority ones. And I thought it would be best to start with some of the Fairy Loot books I own. I have a lot of 2023 Fairy Loot editions that eventually I will get to because I do own them. But these are the two that I feel like I need to get to sooner rather than later. The first one is one I know is going to be on so many best book of the year lists. As of today when I'm filming, the Goodreads Choice Awards just came out, which I have so many issues with. We won't go down that road today, but something that was nominated was obviously Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Rebecca Ross is an author who has been recommended to me personally many times. I have a different book by her called Dreams Lie Beneath, which I don't hear about as much, but I want to get to this one because I know it's going to be so beloved. It's historical fantasy romance, which is like a niche genre that works for me. I don't know how I feel about this study being set around the war, but a lot of people love it. It's two rivals, two stories, two hearts, one fate, and obviously there's letters in here. I wonder if it's actually like epistolary in some way and if we get the letters, because I eat that kind of thing up. I have a feeling I'm really gonna love the romance. No gods, no war, no one can come between them. It just looks super romantic. I have some friends who have loved this. I have heard incredible things about Rebecca Ross's writing, and yeah, this has to be done. And then one that is on the Goodreads Choice Awards for Romantasy this year, which is a new category that we got there, is Hurricane Wars, and this edition gotta be one of the prettiest editions I own. And the thing about this is I'm starting to hear mixed reviews, so that makes me nervous. And when people talk about this, I don't really know that I understand what it's actually about. And so I won't be any more help to you in that department other than to tell you this book looks beautiful. The Night Emperor casts a long shadow over the land. Nothing can stand in the way of its might and power. Year by year, the hurricane wars take and take, and yet there is hope in the darkness, one lone light against the empire. It is on the bigger side, but I do want to get to it. I do want to see if it works for me, and then as I said, the mixed reviews are kind of turning me off from picking it up, and I know that if I don't read it now, it's just gonna be one of those books that I never want to read in case I hate it because it's so beautiful and I just don't want to fall into that trap anymore. Two others that I own physically. The first one is The Surviving Sky. This is by Kritaka H. Rayo, and I bought this the day it came out. I ran to the store to buy this. This was like a cover ad for me, but it looks so cool. I actually thought this might have a chance of being nominated for the Goodreads Choice Awards back when it came out, but it seems to have just flown under the radar, and I don't know why. I know why I've been reluctant to pick it up, because of the comparison to The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, which is one of my favorite books. I love that book so much, but it is a book that you really have to take your time with, or at least I did personally, and I just haven't been in the mood to do that with a book, and I have a feeling that this will be a similar experience and it'll be worth it in the end for me. I just have to be able to stay with it, and that's just not where my headspace has been lately, because this is climate change kind of fantasy, and I think it's about a married couple who have different ideas about where this world is going, and there's a lot of stuff about environment in here. Tasha Suri blurbs back, which I know we don't really take blurbs too seriously, but she said a book to get lost in, so maybe she is telling me that I should pick this up and it won't be as much work as I have built it up to be in my head. I just love Tasha Suri so much. Anyways, this is definitely one that I've been putting off for reasons that I understand, but just have to work past. This next book was actually sent to me by Angry Robot Books, and they have been great to me. And this is The Judas Blossom by Stephen Aaron. And when this first came out, again, it was getting a lot of buzz, much like with The Surviving Sky. I just haven't been in and more high fantasy, epic fantasy mood this year. That really comes in waves for me. 2023 has not been the year for that for me personally, but I could see it coming back to that, especially since this one seems to lean more historical. It's set in 2060s Persia, and it follows Genghis Khan's children, and I just think the whole thing about this sounds so unique and different from what I usually pick up. It's just a matter of being in the right headspace for it, because with these kind of books, if I am not prepared for it, it's just not fair to them, if you know what I mean. So this is one that I'm just saving for the right time. Moving on to ones that I don't own when I should really be reading my physical TBR, but there are a lot that I can get from Scribd or have from Libro and stuff like that, and I'm just dying to get to. The first one is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. Ava Reid, much like Rebecca Ross, is just one of these authors whose books have always caught my eye. I've had people recommend Ava Reid to me, especially on my blog, for years, and I've always been curious about her stuff and just never prioritized it. But A Study in Drowning, of all of her backlist, is probably the one that calls to me the most. There's a chance I will be reading that soon, and it's dark academia, it's YA, it got a lot of good reception from readers who I think have similar reading tastes as I have. I've heard she's a very atmospheric writer, and I discussed this in a video not too long ago where I think atmosphere comes before characters and plot for me, so that's just giving me what I think I'm gonna love. Really, I don't know what it is. There's just some authors, almost like you're saving them, or you're scared that you're gonna be wrong about them, so you don't pick them up, and that's Ava Reid and Rebecca Ross for me. Here's another one that was on the Goodreads Choice Awards. I'm shocked. This is the Jessad Heir, and this ended up in the romantasy category. So maybe my idea of what the Jessad Heir is completely wrong. I know there's a romance in there, but I don't think I realized it is so in the forefront of what the story's about. And honestly, I haven't heard too many people talk about this book, so I don't know too much about it. I read a few chapters, but I was listening to the audiobook, and I was just missing a lot, so I know I need a physical copy. I've said this many times, and it is on my wish list for Christmas, so hopefully somebody in my life will buy that one for me, or I'll get a gift card, or I'll just treat myself to it, because it's really been calling to me. And then I saw it in that romantasy category, and that really confused me. I saw a few other people discussing this, but that piqued my curiosity even more, and I am always looking for some different mythological or folklore retellings that aren't Greek, and this one is Egyptian, and from what I have heard, I've been hearing some really good things. It just didn't seem to get the buzz of some of the other books that came out in 2023, but it did end up in the romantasy category, so obviously it's popular enough, and that is one it's really calling to me at this very moment. Here's another one that I know I've been putting it off, and it's because in theory this should become my favorite book of all time, and I've built it up so much in my head that it's just not fair to the book. So I'm trying to make my expectations for that a little bit more realistic, but this is The Scandalous Confessions of Lydia Bennet Witch. There's two things I love most in this world. Anything to do with Pride and Prejudice. Some of my favorite books are Pride and Prejudice retellings, and that's my favorite movie. It's one of my favorite books. I have so many editions of Pride and Prejudice, it's actually ridiculous. And anything witchy. I talk about witchy books all the time. I feel like cozy fantasy and witchy books is kind of what my brand is at this point. You put those two things together, this should be my favorite. I haven't heard much about it. It is making me very nervous. I am staying off Goodreads. I don't want to be influenced by reviews. I have the audiobook downloaded and ready to go. I just need to be ready for it, and to be fair to the book, to not hype it up too much in my mind, but in theory I should love that. And that follows the actual story beats and plot beats of the original book, but from Lydia's perspective, and she happens to be a witch. And I wonder if I'm supposed to fall in love with Wickham in this, because if that's the case, I think that could go really well wrong, because I can't stand that guy. But we will see what she does with Wickham in this, and the whole thing. I think Lydia is an interesting character, so yeah, high hopes, but I'm nervous. I know I just talked about book blurbs when I was talking about The Surviving Sky, and I always notice when Tasha Suri blurbs a book, I don't know why, I see her name, and it's like a beacon for me. She just draws me in. I just love her. And another author that I always notice blurbs of my favorite books is Genevieve Gordacek, who I've never read from. She wrote A Witch's Heart, which is another one I see recommended all the time, another one that people tell me I will love, and I really do think I will. But she had a book come out this year called The Weaver and the Witch Queen, which didn't seem to get the hype that A Witch's Heart got. So I just wanted to put it on this list in case you didn't know that was even out. But again, that's just an author who I always see around, and obviously we have similar reading tastes because she blurbs so many of my favorite books. I could do a whole video of just books I love to blurb by her because there are so many. And so in theory, if she loves the books I love, she should probably write the books that I love, right? And witches again. Both of her books have witches. and I think they lean more historical. I want to get to both of those, probably Witch's Heart first if I'm being honest, but her 2023 release is definitely high priority. God Killer by Hannah Kent. All my friends love this. That has to be one of the most stunning covers of the year. Another thing I realized this year is that Tom Roberts is one of my favorite cover artists. He did the cover for God Killer. I'm gonna put the sequel here as well because I think that is just as beautiful. He did A Book That Wouldn't Burn. He's just done a lot of great covers that I love, so he's one of my favorite cover artists. And I love books about gods. I trust my friends to give good recommendations. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think this ended up in the Goodreads Choice Awards anywhere, which I thought it might, but I have heard some really great things about it. I do want to read it before the sequel comes out next year. And again, the cover is designed by one of my favorite cover artists, so that is priority for me. One I cannot believe that I haven't touched is Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee. This is a novella. I have the audiobook on Scribd or Everand or whatever it's called now. I've had it downloaded for months and months since the day that this book came out. I could listen to it in an afternoon. I don't know why I haven't done it. I love books about animal companions. I love revenge stories. So why am I putting this off? I love Fonda Lee. I loved Jade City. I haven't continued with the series, but I need to. But I don't have an excuse for this, and I have no idea. I could sit down today and listen to that. So I don't know what the excuse is for that one. Just has to happen at some point. Might be a good one to sneak on to a TBR in December. We will see. And last but not least is one I'm kicking myself for not having read yet because Angeline Boulley wrote A Firekeeper's Daughter, which was one of my best books of this year. So why am I depriving myself of potentially finding another new favorite in The Warrior Girl on Earth? I don't know what to tell you. This is another one where I feel like her debut got so much hype and attention, and then publishers just seem to forget to promote her second book, and that is a crime. Because I have a feeling that this is going to be just as good. It's set in the same like universe as the first book. This is a contemporary, but we're following the niece of the main character from the first book. So I love that connection. I love these characters. I love Angelina Boulley's voice and her writing. And if you are not a huge YA contemporary reader, I'd still recommend looking into this one at least because I think that she is fabulous. And yeah, I'm just kind of sad that this one didn't seem to be as marketed as much as her first. So those are the ones that are on my high priority. I am going to stop filming this, make a separate shelf just for those so I can look back on it and remember it. Because I'm a visual person, I need to be reminded of these lists that I make, or else it just goes whew, gone. So I won't be reflecting on my 2023 TBR. That's not gonna happen because I know I did terribly. So I'm trying to set up better goals for the next year. Anyways, let me know what 2023 releases you would recommend to me, or you still want to read or high priority. And if your Goodreads is as big of a mess as mine, I would love to hear that too. Let's commiserate. And thank you again for your support. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye for now.